Hi everyone. So in this video I thought I'd take a look at the 2024 Stack Overflow Developer Survey. Or specifically there's a spreadsheet that I update every year which just really concentrates on the data for the top paying technologies and the most popular technologies. I'll include a link to the developer survey results. So as you can see here, around about May of every year, they do this annual survey. And then sometime after that, sometime in like June or July, they publish the results. And I'm a little bit behind the curve this time because I had that sort of month break. So I thought, well, now's as good a time as any to do my sort of yearly overview. I'm not going to go through the results on the website sort of in a granular nature, but I just wanted to quickly show you, if you've not seen any videos I've done about this survey or just not familiar with the survey, you can see it's very nicely laid out. Each year they sort of improve and tweak the way it's all laid out. But you've got these different categories of how they present the data. So you've got the developer profile, the technology bit, which is the bit that I tend to be most interested in, is most popular and top paying, just from a statistical standpoint. Section on AI, a section on work, community, professional developers, and methodology. So there's plenty there to play around with. But in today's video, I'm really just interested in explaining, what changed with relation to my spreadsheet this year. So, like I say, you can go back further in terms of the data is out there. But my starting year that I'd started doing this was 2017. So we're from 2017 to 2024. And basically how I put this together, and I'm mainly going to go through this data here, my sort of summary data where I've manually summarised it. But what I normally do is I start with my sort of data, which is just the top 25 results for each year for top paying and most popular. So I've taken basically last year's spreadsheet and added in this year's data. And then I do a couple of pivot tables just to give me a bit of an overview of the data for the other manual collated stuff. So here we've got a pivot table for the top paying. That just gives me a good idea of what programming languages have been present in the top 25 each year. So with 8 years of data, you'd expect anything with a rank count of 8, it's appeared 8 times, to be programming languages that have always made the top 25. And out of that, the top ranking one within that group is Ruby. But it's nice because I can see, again in overview, which is helpful when I'm doing these other tabs, these other sheets, what year on year across the 8 years now, what consistently comes up in various parts of the data. And then the most popular one, you can see here, and that's JavaScript consistently every year. So let's actually look at the sort of the data in summary across every year. Sorry. So we've got the top paying stuff. So what this is basically not just the top 25, but all of it. each year. Now, they did start off just having the top 25, and I think maybe before that it was slightly less. I'm not sure, can't remember now, but from 2017 they always had at least 25, and then over the years since then, when they got up to 2021, they started including a little bit more data. So it does fluctuate. You can see it's gone from 38 entries to 42 to 51 down to 49. So what I've been doing is year on year looking to see, what are the usual suspects. So what's interesting is now, after 8 years of data, it's basically Ruby and Scala that have always been in the top 10 for the top paying technologies or top paying programming languages. Now, how has that changed since last year? Well, what basically has dropped out of the top 10 is Go. So when I did last year's video, there are actually 3 in this list, which is Scala, Ruby, Scala and Go, because up to that point those 3 had always been in the top 10, but this year Go drops out. But what's interesting with this list, I found, is that in terms of the top, what would it be, the top 25, Python has dropped out. You can see there. So Python now isn't in the top 25, so that was there every single year in the top 25 until this year. So that's why there's a gap here. But in terms of the other programming languages, you can see there's been a little bit of, moving around here. But overall, in terms of where they were, they haven't really changed. So, Ruby, Scala, Go, Rust have always been in the top 15 over the 8 years. Ruby, Scala, Go, Objective-C and Rust have always been in the top 20 over those years. So it's only been a change in the top 10 in terms of Go's dropped out, and in the top 25 in terms of Python's dropped out. And the new to 2024, because that's what these grey ones are, so every time something new appears from in this case from this one will be the previous year, and then as we go through, anything completely new when comparing it to previous years is MicroPython, which I think isn't it? That's Python for controllers, I think, which I believe has been kicking around since 2013. So yeah, that's suddenly come in from, looks like nowhere on the list. I'll come on to what this is in a moment. Then we have this, which is the most popular. Now this list is much more robust. As you can see, there's a lot of green everywhere. It doesn't really change that much, or hasn't changed that much year on year. I mean, there's been a few movements around, mainly because they've renamed things at certain points, but generally it's really consistent. So I haven't had to alter any of this summary data here. Here things have just reorganized themselves. So what was in the top 5 is still the same, and actually in the same order. Top 10, same thing. Top 15, the same. There's been a bit of reorganization here in the top 20. You can see that Lua and Ruby and Assembly have sort of swapped positions somewhat. And then here, beyond those ones, there's no real change. Well, there isn't any change. So it's in this area here, that the order's reorganised. But overall, it's the same, consistently for the last 8 years. These are the programs that have always been in the top 10, top 15, 20, 25. Now you might be wondering what these yellow ones are here. So what this is languages that have appeared in the top 25 on both lists. So in the top paying, you've got, I'm going to find it here, Go, Ruby and Scala. And Go, Ruby and Scala are always in the top 25 over the 8 years on both lists. This little list here, or these lists here, are just adding the two together. So the top paying and the most paying for the top 10 and the top 15. But the overall, it's in top paying and most popular for the top 25 programming languages from the Stack Overflow survey. It's this list: Go, Ruby and Swift. So yeah, interesting, isn't it? So it's really the top paying, and I've seen this before, the top paying is the most volatile list, and changes around the moment. You can see last year was interesting. Suddenly we had Zig in with a bullet, number one. And we've had stuff drop out, interestingly enough. One of the reasons why Closure doesn't consistently make any of these lists is in 2020, it just seemed to disappear off the face of the earth. It just went. So not quite sure what happened there, whether that was an anomaly in the data or why, but yeah, it's disappeared. So to basically make it to these tables, it has to have appeared every single year in each of these sort of strata categories. But overall, you can see we are seeing, I suppose, the number of new things that pop in to the top 25 getting reduced. So I suppose you could argue that there's been some reshuffling here, and it's much more dramatic than the other one. You can see in the top 5 here, we've got Erlang, Elixir, Closure, Nim and Ruby, and then last year it was Zig, Erlang, F#, Ruby, Closure. But if you look back through here, I mean, if you're curious, I don't think there's been anything on this list, by the look of things, that's been in the top 5 every year for the top paying. The most popular, you can see the list is pretty static, and I could even probably do a top 5 here because of that. So if we were to look at that quickly and eyeball it, we can see that JavaScript, Python, SQL, I think, but not TypeScript. So JavaScript, Python, SQL. You can see there. Oh, actually, saying that, it dropped out here. So I missed that. So basically just JavaScript and SQL. Always in the top 5 for most popular. Obviously there's some, here, I don't know if they just didn't consider HTML. And you can see they sort of aggregated it here with CSS as well. So some things, just because of the way the data might be collected, there might be a reason why they never ended up in on the list. So, at some point, with doing any of this sort of very basic, I suppose, data munging, whatever you want to call it, I suppose it's good to make a decision about, once you've done it over several years, do you want to actually just do a subset, as maybe the collection's got a little bit more discerning, or ways of organising the data have been nailed down a bit more, and stratifying the data. Do I want to just basically only look at, say, I don't know, 2020 onwards? Anyway, that's something for me to think about for next year. So thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future video.